In the Impact segment tonight, President Obama privately met with some families of terrorism victims today to discuss his executive order closing Gitmo. It's safe to say he also had to explain his controversial decision to let charges be dismissed against the alleged al-Qaeda bomber of the USS Cole in 2000. Remember, 17 sailors were killed in that attack. This comes on the heels of Dick Cheney warning the Obama administration not to get soft in the fight against terror.
If you release the hardcore al-Qaeda terrorists that are held at Guantanamo, I think they will go back into the business of trying to kill more Americans and mount further mass casualty attacks. If you turn them loose and they go kill more Americans, who's responsible for that?
Of course, the former vice president is now being accused of fear-mongering by some Democrats. Joining us now from Jacksonville, Florida, is Nancy Soderberg, former senior national security advisor to President Clinton. Nancy, great to see you. Obviously, a hot topic here. Dick Cheney comes out of his retirement to talk about the issue of Gitmo and just the relaxing of some of the rules that the Bush administration had put in place when it comes to this terror issue. Why is it wrong for the vice president to speak out now?
Well, he really should retire and exit stage right. He has really just thrown wrenches into a very controversial issue in a way that's not constructive on any level. And it's unusual for a departing president or vice president to speak up so early. You notice President Bush has had the grace to stay in the background now and let Obama have his entrance. Down the road, when his first book comes out, fine. But this is really inappropriate. I also disagree with what he's saying.
If he truly, though, Nancy, if he truly believes, though, that the nation is imperiled because of these policies, which right out of the gate, President Obama decided to push through. The Gitmo closing, tribunal stopped, and the interrogation rules, of course, weakened, waterboarding off the table now. I mean, Vice President Cheney and a lot of Americans, a lot of victims of terrorism, believe that the country is less safe than it was, let's say, on January 19th.
Dick Cheney has been saying this since the day Obama won office. He made this whole round of exit fear-mongering discussions. The truth is Obama's going to make us safer with the steps that he's taking. As he said in his inaugural, we don't need to sacrifice our values for our safety. And following the Constitution, following a process, and I'm sure he had a very frank conversation with the families of the victims of the Cole and 9/11. The truth is this is not releasing these individuals. What Obama has set in place is we're going to close Guantanamo. That doesn't mean we're going to release all these prisoners. He's going to have a fair review, a constitutional review, put America back on the side of our values. That in itself will make us safer. And those who are out there saying he's going to release all these is ridiculous. I want to address that point.
Right. Well, we're going to get to that because an American was killed by a former Gitmo detainee. Maybe you saw the story, an American teenager in Yemen was killed. Just reported.
President Bush released that person.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, because we didn't have the evidence to try these people and they're let go and we see what happens. But let's get back to this issue of how closing Gitmo, et cetera, makes us, quote, safer, according to you. Now, why do you think the terrorists care about whether people here get due process? Do you think, oh, we're not going to strike against an American target because the detainee in Gitmo now has the right to confront his accuser? I mean, why? Under what scenario do you think they care about due process?
Obama has been taking this step since his campaign and since he took office, that some of the steps we've been taking over the last few years has fueled the narrative of the terrorist recruitment by having pictures of Abu Ghraib, by locking up prisoners with no trial. Some of these men have been tried, held for 5-6 years with absolutely no charges. That's un-American. We don't need to hold people up without charges indefinitely to keep ourselves secure.
What do you want to do with them now?
What we want, well, we're going to review them and keep the ones that are dangerous and put due process
and
for
do
those
what?
Who, well, those who are still a threat are going to stay in jail, no doubt about it.
But without charges or with yeah, but my point is, what kind of procedure? I mean, having a quote new national security court, the whole even I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post said these new courts, if they come into being, would present the same types of problems as a military tribunal. I mean, you're either going to have to convict these people or you're going to have to let them go.
No, you're going to either have to convict them or find a reason to hold them. And that's not easy. I'm sure Obama will figure out a way to do it by having a review process, looking at them, having a more open process, first of all, and not having secret detention centers around the world. But he's actually trying to reorient the ship of this country toward the Muslim world in a more engaged, smart way, which is reinvigorate the Middle East peace process, close down the process of restoring democracy and security to Iraq. He's going to do that in a way that is much smarter than the clumsy, incompetent way that's been done over the last
well, I mean,
years.
again,
that in itself will make, that's going to make
Nancy,
us safer.
clumsy and incompetent and safe for 7.5 years after 9/11. But let me just say one thing. Former commander of the USS Cole, hold on, Nancy. The former commander of the USS Cole, Kirk Leipold, I'm sure he's part of the Bush conspiracy, but Kurt Leipold said, look, delaying this case even further, dropping these charges against a man responsible for killing 17 U.S. sailors is justice denied for the families of those victims of the USS Cole, and I couldn't agree more.
Those families can rest assured there will be no justice denied. Yeah. The process will continue, and those responsible will be held accountable.
Well, we're going to see how that all works out. Nancy, we appreciate it. Plenty more ahead as